Welcome to Cultural Connections Lab. I'm your host, Dr. Kelly Forbes. We are here to talk with educational professionals around the world to impact and influence the education system as we focus on cultural connections and the education of multilingual, diverse students. We're excited to have you join us today, and we sincerely hope that you enjoy the show.
Are you ready to take your school district to new heights? Introducing EduSkills, the leading software as a service platform for Title III and multilingual support in education. At EduSkills, we understand the importance of equitable education and empowering multilingual learners to thrive in today's classrooms. Our cutting-edge technology provides school districts across the nation with the tools they need to enhance language acquisition, foster inclusivity, and improve academic outcomes. With seamless implementation and comprehensive support, EduSkills ensures a smooth transition for your district, empowering educators to provide targeted instruction and personalized support. So why wait? Unlock the potential of your school district today with EduSkills. Visit our website at eduskillsllc.com or call us now at 405-879-9898 to schedule a demo. EduSkills, transforming education one student at a time.
Welcome to another podcast with your host, myself, Dr. Kelly Forbes, and welcome again to a wonderful guest that we have today. I'm excited to introduce a very dear friend of mine whom I have met many years ago, and I'm just excited to have her here. Her name is Mónica Suyo. Mónica Suyo moved from Lima, Peru to Norman, Oklahoma in 2001. Her dream was to study abroad and explore other cultures. Prior to studying at the University of Oklahoma, go Boomer Sooner, Mónica was an exchange student in Sevilla, Spain. She graduated from OU in 2004 with a bachelor's degree in psychology. She also holds a master's degree in human relations. She's been in education for over 15 years and has professional experience in educational settings ranging from pre-K to post-secondary. Currently, she is the Director of Recruitment and Community Engagement at Cristo Oklahoma City High School, a private high school in Oklahoma City. Previously, she was the Assistant Director of TRIO, Upward Bound Program at Oklahoma City Community College. Before OCCC, Mónica was the Dean of Academic Programs at Monde International School, a language immersion public charter school in Norman, Oklahoma. Apart from her professional experiences, she has been a volunteer and board member on numerous nonprofits. Mónica, as the Director of Recruitment and Community Engagement, enjoys being out in the community and making sure people know what Cristo Rey Oklahoma City High School is all about. She is looking to build more of a presence in the community and would love to make sure that everyone in and around Oklahoma City and beyond knows about Cristo Rey. Also, her goal is to spread more information about what it takes to be admitted to Cristo Rey and what it means to be a part of the school. What she loves is to work with families and enjoys working with students along with getting to know them. Mónica currently resides in Norman, Oklahoma with her husband, Ryan, whom she met at OU when they were both undergraduates. They have been married for 20 years and have a son, Samuel. And Sam is the owner of Heavenly Nectar and actively participates in other programs and activities from LoveWorks Leadership Organization. Mónica enjoys traveling and has been to numerous places and historical sites in her home country of Peru. She also has traveled to numerous places in the United States, including Orlando, Washington, D.C., St. Louis, and her personal favorite, Eureka Springs in Arkansas. Un bienvenido and gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, Mónica. Thank you for being here and welcome.
Well, thank you so much. This is a pleasure and I'm very excited to just be here and share my story and also share some wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. I know that, so listeners, just so you know, I had the privilege to be with Mónica yesterday on a pilot program for her podcast, and
Yes.
I think that officially, unofficially, it will be called something to the tune of Tu historia cuenta. There it is. Like your story counts. And it was so much fun. So I'm glad now we get to go ahead and kind of switch it up a little bit. And now you get to be on this side of it with me. And so I'm excited.
Thank you. Like always, it's a pleasure to be talking with you and talking about what is our passion, that is education.
Well, we are definitely, I mean, I don't know if I know that many more people that are so passionate than us here in this great state of Oklahoma. The only other person that I can think would be as passionate is our awesome co-host today, Dr. Taylor Tribble, President and CEO of EduSkills, our sponsor for this podcast. And so welcome también, Dr. Tribble.
Mucho gusto.
Yeah.
Gusto en verlo en persona.
Sí, es cierto. I was trying to think. When we met in person was, what, how many years ago?
Actually, it was...
5, 6, more?
Probably, yes. Yeah. Yes, because you were... it was a PD for, if I'm not mistaken, for teachers. And that's when Tracy Morales was introduced as part of your team, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah.
It's so nice to be able to have these connections here in Oklahoma with people from so many different backgrounds, but like you said, with the same passion that we have. And I was trying to remember, and to be honest, I can't 100% remember how you and I met the first time.
I don't remember either the first day, but definitely have to be about through music or probably a community event.
La comunidad latina.
Are you a dancer too?
I'm not. I love music. I love to learn. I'm not a professional dancer like Kelly or Dr. Forbes. But I love. Definitely, I love culture. I love to just know everyone's story. And I'm international and exchange student, so definitely I appreciate what everybody brings to the table. So I'm pretty sure that I met Kelly in a community event.
I'm sure it was something.
How can you forget?
There is no way that you can forget. You cannot forget.
You can't forget Kelly.
Yeah, a very blonde, white gentleman. Speaking perfect Spanish and dancing perfection, basically.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Every time I'm with Kelly
and
we're speaking in Spanish, people are convinced that he's not American.
No, él es del Caribe. Sí. Él es del Caribe.
O Colombia o algo.
Algún lado, sí.
Sí.
Corazón latino así.
Yeah. Así es.
A Latino heart. That is so true. It's so funny. So... I really can't remember, like I said, how we met, but I know that we've met somehow through, like we're discussing right now, just our passions. And so, which is kind of nice that we don't necessarily remember, because I just feel like we've been friends forever. And for so long. I really feel connected to you. And anyhow, I'm always thankful whenever I stop and I reflect upon like all these great relationships I have in my life. And so I'm thankful that not only are you here to share with all the listeners, but just that I get to, share part of this world and life with you. So, gracias por todo que haces, for all that you do.
Palabras. Pero es cierto, nos hemos conocido hace muchos años y es ese tipo de relaciones que dejas de verlos, pero cuando los vuelves a ver es como la primera vez.
It's so true, because we don't always see each other, but it's as if we never were apart whenever we see each other again.
Cierto. Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Now, I will say though, there are parts of your story that I don't know, right? And so I know that you said that you had listened to a few of the episodes of Cultural Connections Lab.
Yes,
and so,
especially yours one.
Oh, I think.
Like how you learn to dance, your grandmother, yes.
So like, porque tu historia cuenta, Kiki and Papa. All of our listeners know about Papa
Everybody
and Kiki.
Knows about them, yes.
My grandparents always joke that like everyone only knows them by, Kelly's Kiki or Kelly's Papa. They said they don't know our names. They just know like Kelly's Kiki or Kelly's Papa. So, thinking about our past, people who have helped us and influenced us, would you share with us your story? Because tu historia cuenta, like your story counts. And so I know that you do have a very exceptional story of you moving from Lima, Peru, coming to the United States, and just starting from the beginning about that. Because like we were saying before in this podcast, we like to discuss those connections, and not just connections that we have among each other, but the cultural connections that we have and the role that culture plays. And so you are coming from a very distinct and unique experience, coming from Lima, Peru, all the way here. We just read your incredible bio, but then even just as recent as of yesterday, you even were talking about and considering how your accent had even changed, that people thought that you might be from somewhere else, even from Peru, and there's just a whole lot that goes with that. So
yes, and that's the beauty of language, and that's the beauty of being bilingual at the same time, because first of all, I studied English in a formal way. So I was in a bilingual school back in Lima, Peru. My mom practically convinced my dad to send me to a private school where they were teaching English every day, 1 or 2 hours a day. So
how common is that in Lima, Peru? What
in Lima,
your
Peru,
experience with
when you
the
are in a
bilingual
public
program?
system, you don't learn English until you're in high school. Kind of similar like here, or it's a different exposure. It's the very basic English. So my parents were always looking for ways that that they can give me a good education.
Mm-hmm.
My parents are not rich. They're not extremely poor. We're from middle class. And my parents were all about education. So my mom, lost her mom when she was 3 months old. My mom is those type of people that start working since she was little. So, she was I always remember the stories that she tell me that probably when I was a teenager, kind of like ignore it. Or I say, Mom, stop it. You always tell me the same thing, But I now that I'm a mom, I reflect a lot about it, because to lose your mom when you're 3 months old is hard. Mm-hmm. Because my mom said that she have to be with different relatives, like living with different relatives. And then in the summer to work as a nanny, for those rich families, or sell things in the market to buy her own things. So for me, in that moment, I didn't realize of that powerful story of my mom, and I feel that she was just trying to tell me that it was all about empowerment. And I feel that I never appreciated that back in the time, because when I grew up, my parents were already married. We have a decent home. So I felt, kind of like you feel like you're good. You're in a safe environment. You don't struggle. But then I understand my mom when I moved here, because when you move, you start from zero, right? So I feel that if I was that Monica back in the time, that dreaming and excited about things and opportunities because of my mom and my dad. My dad, he lost his dad when he was 10 years old. He was older, but he comes from a family where all the boys went to college, but all the girls stay at home. But my grandma never learned how to read or write. So my grandma, when, she lost her husband, what my grandma did is just doing business. Selling, the cows, because they both of them are from the Highlands, selling the cows or selling anything that they have, all the animals, and trying to work by herself and create businesses to making sure that all my uncles go to college. But unfortunately, all my aunties, they didn't go to college. So my dad always wanted to be a doctor. He couldn't be a doctor because he thought that for my grandma would be so expensive to cover that. So he decided to become an engineer. But guess what? My next uncle, who is the youngest one, he became a doctor.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so it's amazing, the story of both of them. But like I said, when you are younger, sometimes you don't appreciate those stories. But then when you grow up and then you go through the difficulties of being an immigrant and being practically alone and just placed in the spot, boop, and you start being, living all those experience, and also turning on the survival mode, then you realize that all those stories that my mom and my dad were telling me when I was younger, it was helping me to just continue living a life here or start a new life here.
What was that like? I mean, in the moment, because I know that we discuss this about our students sometimes,
yes,
that they can go through, and this is the short of the long, the kind of those 4 H's, where you have a honeymoon phase for a minute, then you have a hostility phase, and then you have a humor phase, and then you finally have that home phase. And so whenever
homesickness,
you discuss the difficulties that someone would face immigrating from one country and
correct,
immigrating to this other, right? To being
yes,
here. What was that experience?
I think that would help me in my case to survive. I have a living here in Oklahoma, and now being able to say I'm happy and I have my family here. I feel at the beginning I was a young college student. And
you came when you were a college age student?
Yeah, a college age student. Yes, that's how I came as an exchange student. But before that, I went to Spain. So traditionally in Peru, and I think that this is with all the Hispanic cultures, when you stay with your parents until you get married. So I was that. Yes, Mike is like, oh, that sounds so good. So you go to college. First of all, college in my country is 7 years. It's not 4 years like here, because I was going for educational psychology. when I was going to college in Peru. It's 7 years because you have 2 years of general studies and there's your specialization. Then you decide where you go, which type of psychology you like. So I was going for educational psychology. So education was always in my heart and mind. So what I was saying is that you live with your parents. It's impossible or it's very hard to work and go to college because it's 7 years, 21 credits per semester.
Wow.
And you do a lot of volunteer work and practice. I was doing actually intelligent tests, personality tests before getting my bachelor's. So it was all that, and where I was, just learning. And I always loved the fact that my mom and all my vacations take me everywhere to travel around Peru, because for her it was very important that I know first my country before I even try to go abroad. Mm-hmm. So I think that my mom just teach me about appreciating different cultures, and especially because of everything that she experienced, she always tell me to help people, to learn from people, and treat everybody with respect. So when my mom was taking me all those trips, I think that she was putting a little seed on me, like I was always curious what's beyond Peru. So, and also I was trying to be independent because, believe it or not, living with your parents is so much fun and easy, right? I don't have to be worried about bills or cooking, So I always want to be more independent and learn about the world. So when I transferred to a different university, what is funny is that I transferred to a harder and challenging university. That was when they have an exchange program. My first university was all women university.
Oh my!
And it was quite easy for me.
Yeah.
I was the top student, and then I don't know what craziness happened in that moment that I decided to transfer. And one of my best friends that was transferring with me decided at the end to not transfer, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to continue, because it was so hard to convince my dad. First, it was hard to convince my dad that I want psychology, because he want me to be a doctor. Probably he wants to fulfill his dream
through you.
Through me.
Okay.
He was trying to convince him anyway. I will buy you a car. We'll give you this or that.
You have some bribery.
Yes, but that didn't happen. So it was my mom actually who took me to this university for psychology and say, go ahead and apply. And in Peru, different than here, you take an admission exam for each university that you want to apply. It's not the same. It's not like here, your ACT or SAT. Mm-hmm. Totally different system. So my mom was the one that took me to that university, all girls university or female university. And my mom was like, okay, this is it. Your dad don't want it, but you're going to apply and you're going to take the test. So I passed the test. So it was already hard for my dad to get used to the idea. Okay, she's going to study psychology, what he didn't want originally. And then he's going to this university, a private university as well. And then it took me time to convince him, because my dad is very rational and objective. He will be the type of dad that will tell you, give me the pro and cons for everything. So, and I, believe it or not, it's funny to say this, I'm like that with my son.
Are you?
I was like pro and cons, for those big decisions.
We'll have him on a future episode and have him tell us about his mama.
Yes, that's for sure. And anyway, so I couldn't say my dad, I'm not moving, I'm not transferring, when I already convinced him. So it was good that I transferred to La Universidad Católica del Perú, because that university provided me the opportunity to go in a change program. I don't know if I'm one of the few that read the newsletters, but I read the newsletter that they have an exchange,
no one ever reads them.
Yeah, a study abroad office. They said that they have a study abroad office, that they have exchange programs with many universities around the world. And I'm like, I want to do that. So I went, I asked them, where they're going. And they said, well, where do you want to go? And I don't know why I picked Spain. So I picked Spain for the summer program. And I went to that one. And like my dad always said, that was your vacaciones de verano. It is true. Because Spain, it's different culture, very laid back.
In Sevilla?
In Sevilla, very laid back.
Yes.
They take breaks for coffee. They close early. I was like, where I am, because I'm from the capital, and everything is fast paced. But then you go to Spain, in Sevilla, in el sur, and I was like, okay. But it was my first opportunity for me to be independent, be by myself, challenge, myself, and feel who I am. Because before, I feel that I was under my parents' umbrella or shadow. Like you have to graduate from high school. You have to go to college. There was no other possibility. But in that moment, I was just being myself. With people who were from around the world. And I love that. I love that idea of just being there in a different type of city, trying to figure it out, the buses and everything, and how to go to one place to another. to just be immersed in that culture. But we speak.
They didn't have Google Maps back then.
Yeah,
right?
they didn't have Google Maps.
That's what I remember. I like think back to how I used to get around all over the world. It's like, how did I show up at these different places?
And let me tell you, I get lost. That's
Yeah.
the funny thing. You know, I come from Lima, but in Lima it's totally different. So easy for me to move around. But then I got lost, and people were so nice to help.
Yeah.
People were so nice because it's Sevilla, it's in the south, and the people is so, you know, energetic and vibrant. But so that was my first experience. And from there, I was like, you know what? I want to go to another exchange program, because the beauty of the exchange programs is that my dad will be paying my tuition in Peru, but I'll be taking classes either, you know, Spain or here. So that was good. So for my dad, I don't have to spend money, extra money on that. The only thing that my dad will have to, well, in Spain, the good thing, because the summer program, everything was paid.
Yeah.
Like housing, you know, and then the classes. The only thing that my dad had to pay was definitely, you know, the airfare, and then, you know, an extra money if I want to travel around. But so when I went back, I applied, and I was already selected to go to the University of Canada, sorry, Alberta in Canada, University of Alberta. I was selected, but I was like, no, I cannot go back, because it was like I came back, you know, the year is different. In Peru, you rest on the summer, when our summer is from January to March. And then a new academic year starting March.
Yes.
So it is totally different than here. So in Spain is the same, you know, because they're in the North Hemisphere. So it's similar than here. So when I went there, I lose some classes. I missed some classes. So my friends were able to give me some notes. But I was thinking, if I go in the next month to University of Alberta, I'm going to miss more classes. And my dad was like, like, you already transferred, you know, like from university to another university. Hello, when you're graduating,
Right. He was
right?
like,
In 7 years, when is it going to happen? So,
Ándale, mija.
yeah, exactly. And then, so I say no to that. But then another best friend wants to go, because I would start telling people, exchange programs are like, it's a thing, you know, it's a reality. You should be doing this. So,
I agree. I've always said you should travel if you can.
yes, exactly. So anyway, so to another best friend in the new university, I told her about it, and she said, you know, I want to go to University of Maryland. I said, sure. So she applied for that, and then I really want to go to University of Texas, believe it or not. That was my passion, because they have a good psychology program. And then back in the time when they had the computers, you could see the big university. And I was like, I want to. Actually, I applied 2 times for University of Texas. The first time, I was.
You can't say that too loud right now.
I
you
know.
Oklahoma.
My husband always like, what?
Hey, you can say I wanted to go as well.
Yeah. So the first time when I applied when I was selected for Universidad de Alberta, I was denied in Texas, because Texas was always my priority. I don't know why. Call me crazy. And then
Well, you weren't the only one that was denied. Very selective.
very selective.
Oh yeah, it's difficult to get into.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gracias. Gracias. Me hace sentir mejor. But anyway, so the second time, University of Maryland was my first option, because I want to be with her. And my second was Texas, and the last one was Oklahoma.
Like, why Oklahoma though?
It is because
It was close to Texas.
No, because I met a student from OU as an exchange student in my university. So I was like, okay. You know, why not? Let's put it. So when they called me, they said, hey, you know, you've been selected for OU. And I was like, what? And I was like, what about Maryland? They say, they haven't sent their acceptance, but if you say no to OU, and then the other one says no, you're not going anywhere.
Ooh. Okay.
So that was a hard option,
Yes.
you know? So I say, you know, you can wait, but if you say no to OU, and then Maryland say no to you, you have nada. So I was like, oh my gosh. And then my friend was selected for Maryland, and I went to OU. So we didn't come to the same university. She also is married to an American here. But it was interesting to come to Oklahoma. I'm going to tell you that.
Interesting is a nice way to say
Did you say yes
it, right?
automatically, or did you wait?
I
to
wait
hear
one
from-
day, and then I was like, okay, let's do that. So my mom was like, you're going. And I said, but my dad don't want any more, because my dad told me very clear, you already have your vacation in Spain. That's it. You know, like I already paid for your vacation. So my mom convinced my dad again. That's why I said that my mom is my best friend and my angel. And then she convinced my dad again with the point, or, you know, saying that it's going to be in English. It's going to be a challenge. She's not going to be, you know, like on a summer vacation. This is going to be real. It's a whole, moreover, I was coming for a year, for 2 semesters.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that I was just coming for one semester like most of the students. So I don't know what I was thinking that moment, because now that I go back, I was like, ooh, I don't know how I did it, because I learned English, like I said, when I was in high school. Well, actually from first grade all the way to my last year, my senior year. I never use it because there's no need to use in Lima. Yes, I like music, but not like to the point that I will know every lyrics. I know the
Not
people
like Kelly knowing Spanish.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Probably I invent words here and there in an English song. I didn't pay attention, you know. So it was so. Life is like that, right? Life is very irónica. La verdad, la vida es irónica. And I was like, I remember I said, I will never live in the United States. And that's when I learned my lesson, never say it never. Because I say, I never will live in the United States.
You know, I mean, always and never are two words that you should always remember to never use.
Yes.
Deep.
Profundo.
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 No, but yeah,
It's,
there it is,
yeah,
yeah.
because everyone
you
in my family is like, you would like to live in the US? No, are you crazy? You know, like I want to live in a place with history, you know, and old buildings, you know, like Europe. I was thinking like, and the food, I want, you know, because Peruvian food is so good. I was like, I want flavor and all that. And here I am, and I
hamburgers.
Really, yes, no, actually, I enjoy
Walmarts.
a good, you know, country fried steak.
Yeah.
I will do that. A mashed
It's
potato,
good.
green beans, exactly. So let me tell you, when I go to Peru, if I stay so long, I miss Oklahoma, because now Oklahoma is my home. And now Oklahoma food, I miss that. I miss the Italian food from here and the Mexican food that I cannot get anywhere else.
Now that is true. Even in the United States, Oklahoma
is the best Mexican food. So just going back to my story. So I came to Oklahoma, and I said that my experience was interesting because I come from a capital that you have 10, maybe now 18 million of people. And my campus is huge in Lima. And you have to go, and it's all, you know, surrounded by walls. It's not like here, open campus. And you go through security, and it's massive people that are walking. And, you know, to go from one college to another college is like a very long distance. So when I came here, I think that the size was not a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
You were like,
Yeah.
I can do this.
I can do this. But I think the problem, first of all, it was that back in 2001, as you know, Oklahoma City was very bad in the sense like there was not that many variety of restaurants. You know, the Civic Center, there was not that many shows. No singers, I think, coming to here do
Everything
concert.
shut down at like 6 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Streets abandoned downtown.
Yes, so I was excited to be an OU campus because it's very diverse and international. The international population is very high, and I try to be involved as much as I can and relate with so many other exchange students. But like you said, everything closed at 2 a.m. when you are a young college student. And in Peru, everything closed at 5 or 6 a.m. and you can be dancing all night.
Yes.
And even when you go to Spain, you can be partying until 3 or 4, and then you take the bus, and it's safe.
Even on a Monday, and you go to work the
Yeah,
next
exactly.
day.
Yeah, and in Spain, you know how it is. Any day
They
is a
work to
party.
live, not live to work.
Exactly. So at the beginning, I didn't like that about Oklahoma. Like the campus, I love it, OU. But outside of the campus, I was like, this is not a place for me to live. You know, like it's boring. I'm sorry to say that, but now I love it. But anyway, back in the time, I was like, Bricktown, it was not Bricktown that is nowadays.
It's so different now.
It was so different, and I thought that I will never stay here. You know, and I came in the year of 9/11. So that was rough. I cannot believe that the two difficult times in the U.S. history, like COVID and September 11, I experienced being here. And I was in shock because back in the time, as an exchange student, I didn't have a TV. I just had my computer, and I was watching the news in the computer, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? A first world country have these type of attacks? Like, I'm not safe here? What's going on? You know, like...
Wow. Yeah.
You know, in that moment...
How scary, though.
It was scary.
For everybody, but you had...
yes, because
point of
I
view and
kind of like
perspective,
hear reality. Like I was coming with all this excitement, and I was so brave, and I didn't worry about safety.
Disneyland.
Exactly.
Like,
You know,
talked about that with Daniel.
Yeah.
Like, you just come, you're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be all this.
it's going to be. I thought like it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen. I'm in a first world country, right? And then when I saw that September 11, I was like, oh my god, we are not safe.
Very sad day.
And it was sad because, I was like, what happened? There was no security in the airport. Like I started thinking things that I'm used to back in Peru. But I thought that here, all the measures were in place. I thought that nothing bad could happen in the U.S. And
So did we.
Yeah.
right? And then, so my years in the OU were beautiful. I met my husband. He was my classmate.
Yeah.
So, but many people ask me, do you stay because of your husband? No. You know, I have a wonderful advisor, Karen Elmore, who is the godmother of my son. And Karen was one of those beautiful people that will hold my hand and say, it's okay, because at the beginning you're excited.
Yeah.
Then came September 11th. Then I felt sick. And then I experienced, sorry to say this, the horrible medical system here.
Yeah.
You know, like that I have to see a physician before I see the specialist. When in Peru, I can go straight to the specialist. And I can pay it out of pocket and I don't need insurance.
Yes.
So I was, and it's
experience in other
affordable.
countries too, right?
Yes.
I currently don't even have insurance. So I'm like in that situation, I'm like, how do you, you can't,
and I have insurance because as an exchange student, you have to come with your insurance. You pay for your
SOL.
insurance. But I was like, so I experienced that back to back, so that I start getting like depressed. I was like, what's going on? You know, because, you know, everybody was already sad because of September 11th, or everybody was scared. Then I get sick. They couldn't figure out what I have. And then unfortunately it was bed bugs. I'm allergic to bed bugs because I was.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
we don't want them.
Yes. So I don't know. Maybe I never was exposed to bed bugs in Peru. Well, again, it's like my yes. Welcome to Oklahoma, because in Oklahoma I meet or encounter different critters that I never seen in my life.
For all those listeners out there, I lived in Oklahoma many years of my life. Never have I had bed bugs.
So anyway,
I haven't either, fortunately.
But believe it or not, I live in an apartment on campus. So I was exposed there.
So there's a lot happening in a university dorm.
Yes. I wasn't even in a dorm. I was in the apartment, but all my roommates, they were fine. It was only me who reacted because I have allergy to that.
Oh my
so
goodness.
yes, you could have a bite, but it started spreading everywhere. And I was like, what the heck I have to do? I thought in my head, because I went to New York, so that probably I was exposed to something. You know, all the crazy theories.
Yeah, that had to be it. It had to be New York. New York's the problem.
You're so scared.
You know, like, no, it was you, because I'm glad that they take responsibility, because then they moved me by myself to a dorm. And I experienced all the culture of a dorm. That I never did that. I was in Coach Tower in the top floor. And I was having my own dorm, what is nice, but I was like different type of environment. You know, you come from all the international community to all, I don't know where the girls come from, but a lot of them are, you know, all of them either from here or outstate, but they look different than me. Totally different back in the time. So I was like, you know, and being in the elevator from the top floor to the first floor, you just encounter different people, conversations, pink color everywhere. And I was like, what is all this pink? You know? Right? And then compliments, like, I love your hair, or I love this, I love that. I was like, okay, you know, like it is different. You know, like when you're used to different culture, you know, the European community looks different than the South American community, you know, all our international students. So I met my husband, but before that, it was the director of the change program. She was director of international program, Dr. Milioras, who told me, would you like to transfer? And I said, how easy is that? And she said, you just give me your transcript. I will make sure, you know, that in the bursar office, you know, somebody there in admissions also clear your transcript and it will be okay. And I was like, and then I didn't even thought about the cost in that moment.
You just did it?
And then they told me she would be 2 years. And I went there to admissions. Now you don't do that. And I went translating in front of the person, to admissions director, every class. I translated this. And then he was trying to compare. Okay, this looks like this.
So you're saying officially transfer from the university in Lima to University of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I did that. But back in the time, they trust my translation.
You got to translate your own transcript?
Yes.
That's like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, it was not like now officially you have to come from a company, organization, so they officially certified that it's translated. Back in the time, no, it was like that easy.
If only I could have done that.
Me
I would have
too.
done so much better.
And I was,
They would have seen right through you.
yes.
They believe she was top of her class.
Yeah. Well, actually have a lot of credits. When I came as an exchange student, I couldn't believe it that to be an educational psychologist, you need a master's. I was getting that on my bachelor's. So my advisor,
Yeah, 'cause
Karen
it is so
Elmore,
different.
she was so nice to talk to different colleges because the College of Education back in the time was kind of difficult. They didn't want to let me to go to an upper level class or a master's degree class. So she fought for that, and I appreciate that from her. So as an exchange student, I was taking 4,000 level class, and I was taking a master's degree instructional design class.
Wow.
Instructional design, and I was just a college student. So I appreciate that the people for instructional design, that they were already professionals, they were very welcoming. And then the language at the beginning, it was a problem. For social conversation, everybody say, oh, you're so good. But for classes, it was a challenge.
It's that difference between the basic interpersonal communication
Yes.
skills and then that cognitive academic language.
And I didn't know like common things like, what's up? I know more like, hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
It's the small things sometimes
Yes.
that confuse you more because you're like, what's up? What's that mean?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's just
And
a
let's
small
not even
thing.
talk about relationships because my best friend from here from Oklahoma, when I started going out with Ryan, he was like, are you guys boyfriend or girlfriend? I guess so. Are you sure you're not dating? And I'm like, what the heck is dating? What's that? And then my friend was like, are you exclusive? No, exclusive? Oh my gosh. That was a learning curve for me.
Really? That's so interesting.
Yes, because Ryan told me we are dating. And then,
Ryan knew what it meant.
yes.
He said,
and
Monica.
and then he belongs to a fraternity. So my best friend, Michael, here from Oklahoma, he's like, do you know how those frat guys? No, I don't know because there is no fraternities, there is no sororities in my country. Just what you watch in movies. And I think that's not the best description, right?
Right.
So it was a learning experience to learn about all those different vocabularies, right? Like you have your set of words that you use socially. You have your other set of words that you use in a classroom. And then the relationship was another one because I have to ask Ryan, am I exclusive or not exclusive?
And what did he say?
I'm exclusive. but then
He's so smart.
But
He
it
like,
was funny to start to ask in what part of because dating is before your boyfriend or girlfriend. And I was like, my country, you are boyfriend or girlfriend when you start going out. There is no
Like
dating.
you're exclusive automatically?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Like you go out, that means
Yes.
it's a sealed deal.
Yes.
Wow.
So-
Here you have to define it.
Exactly. And that's what Michael, my friend, was like, you need to ask him. And I was like, no, I'm not going to ask him. So I didn't know how to ask Soraya, like where we are in all the in the process. So I came on August.
Can you draw a picture?
And put and define it, right? And usually 10. No, kidding. So anyway, so I came here in August, very early in August, way before the first week of August, to Oklahoma. I met Ryan, was my classmate because I was taking some class in the college education. In the College of Education, and Ryan is a teacher. He's an educator. It's so funny how our lives changed because he went to school to be a social studies teacher. So we took a class together, cognition, motivation, and classroom management. That was the class, and that's how we met. So at the beginning, we were just friends and classmates because he was dating somebody else. And then he was fascinated I was from Peru because he's social studies teacher. And then we become friends. Then when I got sick, he brought me his notes for that class. So I feel so touched, that he came to my apartment to bring me notes, because I was sick.
That is so sweet.
That was so sweet. And then we started dating in October of 2001, and we got engaged in May of 2002.
Wow.
And then you were exclusive.
Yeah. So definitely it was meant to be in Oklahoma. There is no other way to describe
Nada
it.
pasa por casualidad.
Nada pasa por casualidad. And I think that now that I see how I learn a lot about surviving I think that I should be proud of myself. And sometimes,
1,000%, yes.
as human beings, we forget that that all those obstacles that we overcame, it make us as successful. But if I don't, hear myself saying it, I don't give credit for that. Like I don't give myself credit. And every time, I go back to Peru, everybody's proud of me. Oh, you're doing so great. You have a family and a husband, 20 years married, because probably some people thought that, no, they're not going to last that long. Right? Because we're from different cultures. We communicate in English. But I feel that it was that commitment that we found. And I feel that it was just, I don't know, being crazy because we got married May 2002. And then we lived together. So I transferred. So I finished my first year. I finished my first year May. And then he went to Peru to ask to my parents for marriage. Yes. And then...
¿Y qué dijeron? Like,
my
what
mom
they say?
My mom was very excited. Let me tell you that. So a little parenthesis. So because I was trying to be independent and a professional and try to be, I never say I'm not going to be a mom, but I say my priority was to be professional. So I was just like, in some way, I didn't believe that I will find a man in my culture because, they are machistas and the women depend on them. And I didn't want it. My mom taught me that I need to be independent and I need to be, like self-sufficient. So I always have that. No, I will never met anybody here in Peru. And I told my mom many times when I was younger, I'm going to be a single mom. That's what I told my mom. With many boyfriends. So when
Not exclusive.
Yes. So when my mom heard that, and then years later, I'm telling her I met this guy and he's going to come. My mom's, yeah, that's it. Fine, perfect. Because my mom's like, she said that she's going to be a single mom. Now we're looking about maybe being married. My mom was happy.
She's just like, I'm so glad you're going to have one husband.
Yes.
And not be a single mom.
And then I have the crazy idea to live with Ryan for a year before getting married. And my dad was not okay with that. So, because he was like...
But you told them.
I told my mom knew that I would live with Ryan for a year before getting married, that I was not planning to get married right away in May 2002.
It just seems like something that it would, you could kind of brush that aside.
Yes.
They're in Peru. They don't know who I'm living with.
But my dad, no. My dad was like, he was not.
You're encouraging, like,
no, I'm just thinking that might be the common approach.
Yes. That's true. So since my dad was always very objective, and he asked me, why you're not getting married? And I said, why I need to get married? I don't even know if this is going to work out because we are from different cultures, different countries. Moreover, I said, even if I was marrying somebody from Peru, I still would do that. I will live together first to see how it is. And my dad is like, are you telling me that you're not going to do something different what normally couples do? And I was like, yes. And I say, well, Dad, if you want to, I could lie to you. I could go back to Oklahoma and I could be the only one answer the phone because I didn't have a cell phone back in that time. I said, I could be the only one answer the phone and Ryan will be there with me. But if you want that, we can do that. And he didn't say anything because I was just talking to him with the truth.
What?
She hit him with it.
But my dad was right. Yes, of course. We were living like a couple, like a married couple. It is true what my dad was saying, but for him, he wanted me married. But at the same time, everybody loved Ryan. And later on, Ryan is bilingual. Ryan learned Spanish. He's one of those people who will say, hey, I didn't pay attention in high school. I didn't learn anything.
Como yo.
Como tú. And then he went to college. Then he went to college classes at OU while we were living together. So in this way, he can communicate with my mom porque mi mamá no habla inglés.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I start my classes, my transfer classes, right? And unfortunately, I had to take those 1,000 level classes because I never took U.S. history. I took every Peruvian, the world history, but
You couldn't change the translation just
I
a little
should,
bit
right?
on that transcript. This was U.S. history.
U.S. history. And Ryan made me to choose the U.S. history that I didn't have a clue before Civil War. And I was like, because I said, Ryan, which one should I? He said, this is the one that I like. Okay, perfect. That was hard because you're in that 100 student class. The teacher was going fast. you still,
like
learning.
a lecture hall.
Yes. And I was still learning English, right? Like putting my English that was sleeping, getting awake, but still like what were, like, there was no way for me to connect with a prior experience or prior vocabulary, because the West was not the West and the East was not the East.
Yes.
Right?
For you, you're right.
Back in
this
the
is
time.
the issue that this is many students experience.
So when Ryan was telling me the West and the East, I was like, and then he's like, no, Monica, it's not what you think. Like, it's not the West, the West and the East. No, before America was different. The U.S. was different. So the only thing that I learned back in the time was Independence Day for the U.S. and the war. That's it. I didn't learn more about the U.S. history. And then the other political science, another big class. And I feel that I was quite a little old, I look a little older than the usual suspects around me, right? And then political science. And I'm glad that I advocate for myself in the sense that every class that I went, when I was exchange student and international student, I went and the first day introduced myself to my professor, say that I was either exchange student or international students, even if I can borrow their notes, because English is not my first language. There were some professors that were very nice. Yes, here they are. Or there were some professors like, no, I don't have notes. Just read the textbook. And I was telling Ryan, I have to read all these textbooks. It would take me years because English is not my first language. So it was, I think that's something that I always tell my students. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to ask for help. And I learned that being here. I don't think that in Peru, I would probably ask for help. I will figure it out. And, I like to help, but I think that here I learned to ask for help, ask for help to Karen when I was feeling sick. And and I wait too long to tell her I'm sick and I'm missing my classes and I don't want that. With my professors, that some of them were, especially U.S. history, he would give me some notes. He told me, I type some notes, but then sometimes I go over there, I talk about something there. Exactly. So he's like, I don't know how helpful will be there. Political side was different. He was a hard one. But, that's okay. I learned it. That was easy, multiple choice. U.S. history was difficult because it was a booklet. And that booklet and those essay questions, they were hard. That was the hard one. And then my next one that was hard is chemistry. Oh yes. My gosh. Yeah. Chemistry in English.
You're like, not only is there like the language of English, but there's the language of chemistry.
Yes.
Plus just chemistry.
Plus just chemistry.
I
think that chemistry is one of those classes that taught me that you need to study every day. Because in the past, you will read it, I feel so smart, I get it, common sense, this, it. Chemistry, no.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
With you. Oh,
chemistry, one of those classes that every day I have to study.
No
matter what. And then I remember for the FIDA, I was like, I don't need to study because I will get a B. I just want to be done. Because I say, I have enough credits for being in a master program right now, and I'm taking chemistry, zoology lab.
I know I had friends and I know people now that said like C's get degrees. Like, for those hard classes, they're like, if I can just pass.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to remember, you cannot work off campus. You have to work on campus, and that was like a $5 something an hour. And that
like a work study. Did you do work study?
No, for my master, I did work study. That was great. I didn't pay much, but for my bachelor's degree, with $5 an hour, no, you cannot make it.
No.
My parents helped me, of course, for my bachelor's degree. That only took me 2 years.
I had like 2 or 3 jobs.
But I have 2 jobs. I work at the Goddard Health Center. I was one of the student employees that, welcome the patient, take it to the doctor, and that's it. And then I was doing catering services for OU, for all those events, weddings, and etc. That was another learning experience because, remember, I grew up living with my parents, never worked in a restaurant, never worked cleaning or serving somebody. So that was a very good experience because sometimes there were parties that my friends will be there, but I couldn't party because I'm serving them. So that was a very teachable moment. And I remember when I told my mom that, and my mom was like, that's okay, hija. One day, the situation will be different. Because it was kind of embarrassing, like I'm in a uniform, I'm in a corner there, and just refilling the water or the tea when everybody's dancing. And those are your friends. You cannot do that.
And we will be right back. Are you ready to take your K through 12 multilingual programs to new heights? Look no further than the experts at Kelly B's Consulting. We're not just consultants, we're partners in education, with a passion for empowering students and enriching your classrooms. At Kelly B's Consulting, we understand the unique cultural and linguistic needs of your diverse student population. Our team of experienced educators will work alongside you, tailoring strategies that transform your multilingual programs. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Visit www.kellybsconsultingllc.com today to learn more and schedule your consultation. Kelly B's Consulting, shaping the future of K through 12 multilingual education across the nation. Your success is our commitment. Contact us now and let's start building a brighter tomorrow together. And now, back to the show.
Wow. You talked about your studies in psychology.
Yes.
Like, I want to learn from you in this. So, and then I've been thinking about this through other stories, but especially this last story as well. Like, what is that psychological process for you, like from your point of view? One, having studied psychology, but then two, you went through a lot of psychological situations in your head, I'm sure.
Yeah.
From your whole life experience up until whenever you were serving your friends as they are enjoying themselves and you are being responsible because you have a job on the side that you have to do so you can make ends meet. Well, I mean, can you speak to that? I mean, like the psychological situation or experiences.
Yes, and I feel that, what is interesting talking
You're
about
like studying
psychology.
it and going through it.
Exactly. And it is true when you talk about all those phases about being an immigrant, the excitement, being depressed, homesickness and all that. But I think in that moment, I was just surviving. I was trying to make a living. By that moment, Ryan and I, we were college students and we were living together before getting married. So we both were college students. He graduated first than me. And then, I think that for me I was just trying to make a living. And I was trying also to make my parents proud. I didn't want that be a failure. There was a lot of resilience, that's for sure, that I didn't know. And that's what I'm proud to be an immigrant. And I always tell people that immigrants have a high resilience level and they should be proud of that. Mm-hmm. I think that part of my personality is that I adjust to environments quickly. I adjust to that. My level of adaptability is quite high because there's no other way that I could explain that. Oh my gosh, I survived. I'm not going to deny that at some point I need help when I was taking college classes from the physician. I didn't know that I have anxiety. Anxiety was not a thing in my country. Mental health in the Hispanic world, it's not popular. It's kind of like a taboo for some people. People don't talk about it. So my mom, I'm pretty sure that besides anxiety, I have attention deficit because I get distracted so quickly. I had to focus really well.
Yes.
And especially in another language.
I resemble that comment.
So when I was a college student and because I had my insurance and got her, I remember the physician saying, "You have anxiety." And I'm like, "How do you know?" He's like, "Everything that you're telling me." And also, you come from a different country, you're trying to work, you're having a relationship, and at the same time, you're trying to finish your bachelor's degree. And she exposed me for the first time to medication for anxiety. I even remember medication, citalopram. And it helped me, but in my head, I was like, nah, I'm stressed. This is it. Because I was like, in my head, it was like, I don't want to be dependent on medication. This misconception that you have. I don't want to be dependent to that medication. It helped me, and anxiety also played a role later on when I become a mom, because I stopped taking the medication. Because my mom also said, "No, you don't want to be dependent. Probably you're stressed." But also, I have the pressure on, first to not fail my parents. Mm-hmm. I don't even think about failing myself. That's crazy. But I feel about not failing my parents, and also I have a heavy weight on my shoulders because my dad helped me to pay tuition. Everything does have to be paid by me, my apartment, my food, and all that. But my dad helped me just to pay tuition. So I was trying to work as much as I can. So there was not a moment for me to just be sick or not being able to work, And Ryan was going through the same because when he decided to, live with me, his parents were like, okay, you're not anymore with us. We're not giving you any more gas money. Because you're living with Monica. You're not anymore in the fraternity house. No gas money. No paying for your cell phone. Nada. You are on your own. So for both of us, it was rough. I don't know how we made it.
I think you bring up a good point, though, is that, oftentimes, we have different experiences, but sometimes the trials and tribulations overlap a little bit. But it is so true that, like, sometimes I would not think about myself, and I would just be so worried about making other people sad, making other people feel like I didn't succeed like I was supposed to, and I wasn't so focused on kind of like my own thoughts or my own feelings. But at the same time, though, you're just trying to survive. And so you don't even think about it until you get through it and you look back, you're like, how did I do all that? But then we also know that we have students that are experiencing this every single day.
And that's something that I tell my students all the time.
Tell me about that.
If you don't mind interrupting, like the transition from kind of where the jobs you working into education and then into working with the students. How did you get?
How that happened? Well, easily. When you are an international student, you have your visa while you're studying. So I married Ryan in 2003, and then I was like, I have my international visa for being a student here, and I was like already graduated in 2004. And we were already married, and by that time I didn't have my green card yet. And I was like, well, either I am undocumented here or I continue using my visa and get my master's degree. In that moment, I didn't know what I want because, here in the University of Oklahoma, psychology is a general psychology. It's very behavioral. Mm-hmm. It's very research oriented. There was nothing like educational psychology. Educational psychology was in the College of Education as a master program. So I was like, oh my gosh, probably I won't qualify for that because my credit comes from the College of Arts and Science as a psychology degree. I'm pretty sure that if I want to take my master and the College of Education, I don't have the credits for that because I have a psychology. Different than Ryan, he have an education degree. I have a psychology degree from the College of Arts and Science. So in that moment, I said, okay, I cannot do maybe educational psychology. I remember going through the newspaper. I said, I will do master in human relations. Just like that. It was like that. Right? I picked that one. And it said that you can also get your license to be a therapist. So I say, okay, so at some point I want to be a therapist. That's it. This is it. So that's how, because I have to make a decision quickly. I didn't want to be undocumented. I didn't want to not being able to work or study. And always the studying has been my passion. Always learning something has been my passion. So that's how I become studying master in human relations. Well, all my classmates, they were, doing the master in weekends and at nights. I was doing that too. I was working as well with my professor, but they were having their own full-time jobs. Different story than mine. So I never was exposed to a job per se. I helped with the food stamp programs translating, for focus group, with the FDA. I helped that anything on campus, either OU Normal or OU HSC. That's how I helped with the FDA. And they were very nice to pay me my taxi back in the time because I didn't have a car, because they need a translator for all those focus group. And they were very nice to give me that job to me, because it was about food insecurity. I still remember that. And the calendar I have to translate with, nutritional facts and food recipes. I still remember that job that I had back in the time. But then, when I graduate, I didn't have a work experience. And everybody that wants to hire you is work experience.
Yes.
So at some point, I was a tutor, a Spanish tutor.
Okay.
When I was in college. And then that helped me a lot to get my first job that was as a full-time teacher. Because I went to Santa Fe. Ryan was already working in Santa Fe South as a social studies. By the way, we don't have the same last name. So when I applied, they never knew that I was Ryan's wife. Because we don't have the same last name. I refused to change my last name. I was like, keeping my heritage and keeping my mom and my dad's last name. Es muy importante. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm keeping that. My two last names, because I don't know who is Mónica Suyo. That's my husband's last name, Ryan Suyo. I was like, who's Mónica Suyo? So I will be Mónica Suyo Mateo. And also I was lazy to change all my paperwork, like, like Social Security,
And then there was that.
Social Security, debit card, your transcript, everything has to change.
It's,
todo.
Yeah. And
Todo.
it's un proceso super difícil. It's a very difficult process.
Yes.
Especially because you got the high
Yes.
last martes. It's a lot.
It's a lot. So anyway, to answer your question, I was just to say that I was willing to do anything, but I need to be employed. We were already married. There is no way that I'm going to be with Ryan's, teaching salary, leaving the two of us, because I was like the first year teacher. They don't pay great. And I was like, and I don't see myself not working. So I have to contribute and all that. And so Santa Fe South give me the first opportunity with Chris Brewster, give me the first opportunity to be a Spanish high school teacher.
Okay.
It gave me the first opportunity. He was impressed with my lesson plans because as a tutor, I have lesson plans. Call me crazy, but I was over prepared for a tutor because I always
Por eso no te vamos bien.
Yes, that's every time that a college student came, I asked them, "You want to pass the test, or you want to learn Spanish because you really want to learn?" And they say, "No, I just want to pass the test." So I just teach them to pass the test. Imperfect versus preterite. Ser versus estar. Like I teach them just to pass it because I say I will have the textbooks that they had it. I will go and buy them. So I will prepare them for the test. And then sometimes they give me tests, so I will make copies. I will keep them for me. I have my binder still now, about those topics that I teach. But I always ask that question. Do you want to learn Spanish, because you are interested, curious, or you just want to pass the test? And many of them like, I just want to pass the test. So that's how, Mr. Brewster was surprised as a tutor that I just have lesson plans ready. And he said, you're hired. And let me tell you, another cultural crash is that the educational system is totally different in Peru.
Yeah.
Way different. And I'm not going to forget that I was like, what? I need to clean my classroom. I need to set up my classroom. I need to buy their own stuff for my class. I was like in total shock. Because I never...
We're still in shock.
Exactly.
that we have to do that.
I remember my teachers, they dressed was so professional. I had my English teacher. The English department was always so much fun because the English department is who exposed me to Christmas carols. That's why Ryan is so impressed that I know Christmas carols, that I know about Halloween, that I about Michael Jackson. Ryan is like,
Thriller?
Yes. How do you know about all that? That's how we connect, like sharing our stories. I say, yeah, Ryan, we have Christmas carols competition because the English department always come up with this fun stuff. Different than my other regular teachers because they never did fun stuff, So the English department for me was awesome, because that's how I know a lot about the American culture. So anyway, but I never seen my teachers spending their own money, decorating the classroom. Moreover, the classroom was decorated by us. Like our projects were on the walls, and then we will be always in the same classroom, and the teacher will come and go. So that classroom never belonged to a teacher; it belonged to the students.
That's kind of the same from my experience in Mexico City.
Yes,
the teacher travels around to different schools, even.
Exactly, and here it was my first year teaching, and I was in a portable classroom outside of the main building. And I was teaching 9th grade. Okay? And was the first time that those 9th grade were coming from every public school, not just from Santa Fe South Middle School. It was rough.
Yes.
It was.
How many students do you have approximately, do you remember, in your class?
I remember having students from freshmen. Freshmen were my majority, but I even have seniors. Probably I have, 30, 35? I learned a lot about the Hispanic community, how totally different was where I come from.
Yeah.
Totally different.
And people think that it's all the same.
So at Santa Fe South,
Sometimes.
I assume you had a lot of Spanish-speaking students, families.
Yeah, 90% probably. Yeah, they're Hispanic, and it's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
You have parents that went maybe up to elementary grade level. You have parents. Nowadays probably changed the population, but back in the time it was elementary, middle school, high school, or nada.
Mm-hmm.
There was not college.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you learn. Then you learn that all of them speak Spanish, but they don't know how to write or read in Spanish, or they don't know how to communicate appropriately, or they would change the words. Back in the time, Spanglish was not okay. Nowadays, we know that there's a reason for Spanglish. Nowadays, we know there is a reason for saying troca. Back in the time,
the practices of translanguage, translenguaje.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I have to probably say sorry to my students back in the time that
So do I.
Sorry if I correct you, if I tell you that troca is incorrect or parqueadero is incorrect. But
But we grow too.
We grow exactly because the other day I saw my students coming to Cristo Rey to dance for Virgen de la Guadalupe, and they were both of them are siblings, and I taught to both of them, and they were like, "Remember, Miss Suyo? No puedes decir troca. No puedes decir parqueadero." And I'm like, sorry, guys. Nowadays, it's okay. Because you learn, right?
Right, exactly.
In the back of the time, you couldn't. You will correct them. They will tell you, my mom and my dad say like this.
Yes.
And then I will be like, yes, that's okay. It's okay that you use that. But professionally or formally, it's like this, And they will go how it sounds. For ser and estar, they didn't care. When to use set or start, they care about how it sounds. But I always tell them, what happened if one day you are in a sentence that you don't even know what it means, words that you don't know what it means. You have to follow the rules.
But then you learn, and you read, and you research, and you understand linguistically how that's developed.
Then you learn, right? Because remember,
all the way to,
when you're asking me, how you end in education, because education and psychology is totally different. Mm-hmm. You're learning about learning styles, learning disabilities, because I took a special education class. You're learning other aspects. You're learning about teaching.
Right.
So I always say that I end in education by default, or it was a call. I don't know how to say it, but it's my passion nowadays. Education became my passion. Mm-hmm. And for many years, teaching Spanish, 1, 2, or 3, or even teaching an elective like current events or women's studies have helped me so much professionally and personally that the education is me. I cannot say, oh no, education is something outside or it was un modo de vivir or a way of living. No, at the end, it taught me that education is part of me. Without me knowing, without me thinking, I'm going to apply for being a teacher. Mm-hmm.
I think you and I share that because, you were doing human relations and psychology.
Yes.
I was doing Spanish and dance, and I'd never wanted to do education. And I was gracias, pero no gracias. Like I was telling you yesterday.
Like that, yeah. But el destino, life has been, stubborn with me. Like every time that I was like, no, I'm getting out of education, then I come back to education.
Pero nos llamó.
And then I got out of education because after my first year, I told Mr. Brewster, I'm like, no, I cannot do this. I'm sorry. But they're like, but you're a great teacher. And I told him, nobody came to visit my classroom. Nobody asked me for lesson plans. What is true? Nobody asked me for lesson plans. Nobody came to, do an observation. Nobody told me if I was doing a good job or a bad job. How I will know that I was a great teacher? And then everyone's like, yeah, but you never have behavioral problems. But that's not the point.
Right.
I say because for me, behavioral problems are based on your classroom management and in your structure and relationships. Mm. So that's what I say. I already knew those things without putting specific labels when you go through a college of education. And I always teach that to my husband. My husband said, because you're by nature, you're an educator.
Yeah, it's natural.
It's natural, yeah. And so that's why I left. And I went to nonprofit thinking that Master Human Relations, I can be in a nonprofit. No, I was wrong. It is true. I went to nonprofit with the Girl Scouts. I helped a lot with the in-school program because I was a teacher. I was very relatable with those middle school girls from Oklahoma City Public Schools. Mm-hmm. I love that too. I still friends with those teachers.
Oh, wow.
Until now, with Terry Turner, from OCCC. And yes, wherever I go, always somebody teach me how to be better professionally and personally, and I still have connections and relationship with them. And like I said, every time that I want to leave, then I come back.
So what about now? So now at Cristo Rey, and you had invited me. I was able to go take a tour of the school, and it was amazing. And so this to kind of bring it all the way around from the beginning, your experiences to where you are now, you are working directly with students and with families and with a community that is mostly
Hispanic. 84% Hispanic.
84. I was going to ask the
10% African American. Yes.
Okay, so the majority, but again, it's a diverse population. Yes. But you have a very special connection with the Hispanic and Latinx community as well.
And that's the community that I want to serve.
Yeah.
I'm not going to deny it. I was in Lemon, as both of you know.
Yes.
And Lemon have given me the opportunity that nobody will give me, to be in administration. without me going to school for being an administrator. So I'm not going to lie, Le Monde was not a job that I would consider because it's totally different environment. Norman, elementary, I was middle school or high school teacher for many years. What I'm doing in elementary. Mm-hmm. But when Lance proposed me the idea of helping teachers that come from around the world to use UBD, understanding by design, mm-hmm. or a different grade system than anywhere in the world, we do different. Let me tell you, we don't do A, B, C, D. That one we don't do it. It's true.
It is.
When I was in Santa Fe South, I was teaching to the parents how to calculate a GPA because you infer that everybody knows what is a GPA, and no, it's not true. So Lance wants that I do that I help teachers to train and to write a lesson plan, and since I was bilingual, he wants that I help teachers from around the world on that, and so. I honestly have to think a lot to go to Le Monde because it was not in my heart, because it's totally different. It was not like me serving the Hispanic population or me being in the classroom. It was a different thing. And also, I didn't like administration when I was a teacher.
So you're like, I don't want to do that.
Right? Yeah. Tell me that a teacher that loves administration.
They don't. Well, yeah.
Well,
they're the enemy.
I don't know. I worked with some really amazing teachers. We all loved each other.
No, but the teachers love administration.
But then I was the same.
Only if Kelly's the administrator, they love administrators.
So
if there's any other teacher out there, I made some cry.
To be honest, there's few administrators that
I didn't
you
mean
love.
to.
Yes.
But when you're in the other side as a teacher, you're always complaining.
They're the enemy.
About something. So let me tell you.
But then you learn right up there. Yeah.
For 2 years, almost 2 years, when I went to these professional developments as administrator, I'd never say an administrator. I would say I'm part of the administration team. I would never, because there were some times that I see my co-workers from Santa Fe South, and they were like, "What are you here?" I am part of the administration team.
But it's not me that's making the bad decisions.
And then I remember one of them is my favorite teacher because she was moving out of that portable classroom. She was a PE teacher. We have a tough encounter, but then we become really good friends because I remember that they were telling her that now PE doesn't have a classroom and move all your stuff behind the auditorium. So I didn't know that. I was just moving in as a first teacher, and then she's like, "This is my soap. This is my chalk. This is," and I was like, "Okay." And then, but then we become and I remember that. And she's like, "Do you remember until now?" "Yeah, Angela, I remember until now that you told me that's your soap."
It's very picky. Okay.
Yes, but she was, you don't know those stories. I didn't know that they were poor her moving all her equipment, everything behind the auditorium, and she didn't have a classroom anymore.
You don't realize that, right? I mean, It's so crazy that you would never assume that would be.
And then she made fun of me in that PD. So you're administration. I'm part of the administration team. I'm not administrator. And she's like, so what are you learning now? I'm learning that I should pay attention to the professional development. That when you are a teacher and sometimes you don't pay attention to the professional development, then you realize that those are helpful.
you being part of the administration team, though, you were helping serve the Hispanic and Latinx community and beyond. It was a Spanish and French program, but because you were able to help those teachers, they were able to pour that into students that may or may not be exposed to another language, like me, who's able to go out and and just be able to como dije ayer, más o menos como ser adoptado. Like sometimes you get lucky enough to be like adopted into a community too. And so it's so nice that you were still pouring into the teachers, that poured into the students, that you were still impacting the community at large. And in your current role, you're doing that. And I know that Cristo Rey is incredibly successful for many ways, but whether it be Cristo Rey or any other school, there has to be a component of culture that's happening in the school culture, but versus the cultures of the students that are represented in your school. And I think that a lot of our listeners could benefit from hearing about the role that plays and how you bring that to life in your role, but also as a school overall.
Well, first I have to say being bilingual is incredible, beautiful, but challenging. So if you are surrounded by bilingual students or families, you have to be very humble and willing to learn from them. That's the first thing that I will say. You have to be willing to learn the difference that are inside of the same culture. The same thing happens with the Asian culture. I have learned a lot about them.
Yes.
Sometimes we just put it in a little box, and it's not true. It's the same diversity that have the Hispanic culture.
Exactly.
And I feel that that's something that we need to, when we are serving, and I use the word serving because that I feel that that's a call. You are serving these families, practice humility, be open to learn from them. And don't think like what we talked yesterday, that you know everything, because you don't know nada.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't. So, but then if we're talking about education, then when you're talking with the parents, you have to be flexible that the America system is not the best. Let's be humble about it, and then learn about other educational system, what works and what doesn't work. Exactly. And I'm sorry to say this, but especially Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We fail the students in many ways. Not only in mental health, but just on the basic on academics. So, the state test is another thing.
And even more so considering the very multicultural populations that we do serve.
And language, we also have to serve them. I am in this belief that there's schools, districts that don't have things available in another language besides English.
Well, Le Monde was even, like, that idea was born out of the public school system closing a bilingual school.
Correct. French, yes. Yes, that was the French program. You're right. So I feel that culture also is important because even though I didn't want it, I was not sure about going to Le Monde and being an administrator, I feel that I learned a lot from them. Because one, I learned at age level that is totally different than the age level that I taught before. So my respect to elementary teachers. Because when you're in middle school and high school, you can tell them great about something. Bell work, I don't know, give me a paragraph about your perfect vacation. What you're trying to get ready for the next activity if you're not prepared. Let's put it like that. With elementary kids, no, you cannot do that.
You have to como llegar preparado. You have to be prepared.
You have to prepare. You have to be very creative.
Yeah.
You have to use a lot of art, music for learning the language. You have to keep those students entertained. The entertainment is different because I always say that as teachers, we're entertainers because we compete with all the technology. But with elementary, it's a different level. All those callbacks that in America we use it and in other countries we don't use it because the culture is different. In other countries, you arrive, you sit down and you wait until the teacher comes. Somebody comes, you stand up, then you sit down and you listen to the teacher. Here it's not like that.
Because they're like already in the classroom seated sometimes before you even get there as a teacher.
So you have to learn that. And that's what I always tell Lance, we have teachers from Africa that they are used to something different. So you have to learn first how it is for them. And then you have to tell them how it's here in the U.S. and then how is the Oklahoma and interpret it from the Oklahoma standards.
Yes.
And that's what was my job.
And that's just for the teachers. That's not even considering the students yet.
And then you have to talk to them about differentiated instruction. And then you have to tell them what is an IEP, what they don't know, or a 504, because that's not happening in our countries.
Or an English language acquisition plan.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right. So I always tell that. I was telling Lance, it's like, you have to understand first the teachers, where they are coming from. What is beautiful that they were like speaking the language that you're trying to teach, French or Spanish. But then you have to have a lot of patience, flexibility, and train them. So my job at the beginning, that was beautiful because I learned a lot from those teachers, from the different cultures, from how it's different part of the world's education, how I teach them, because basically I was teaching them, lesson plans, Oklahoma standards, like the grade level system, that it was different because it was not A, B, C, D, F. I remember that Lance what it was, I forgot. The 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. For the to show mastery.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's a different level. That's different language for the teachers, because the teachers were either numeric and then translate to a letter, or what is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was like telling Lance, you're just taking them to a different level.
It's just so important though to be able to like pause, reflect.
Yes.
Know the teachers that are in your building.
Yes.
How you can work with them and the students. But again, it's understanding them. Individual teacher understanding, individual student understanding.
Yes.
And then also building upon those experiences, cultures, and backgrounds.
And that's the academic portion, but you cannot dismiss the culture portion.
Exactly.
And that was something that we did in Le Monde, and I know that they're still doing it very good. Like, for example, it's mastery that every kid knows, like, I speak like this in my Puerto Rican teacher, but it's also okay to say like this when I go with my teacher from Mexico, and it's okay to say like that in my teacher from Venezuela. So they know that. So the cultural aspect in Le Monde is brilliant. That works brilliant. It's just academic portion that we work a lot with the teachers, And then I learned a lot from them, from the culture, from the instruction, from the relationships, from the classroom management. I was never exposed to that age level, but I was those administrators that if Lance tell me, we need you in the cafeteria, I'll be serving lunch. We need you to clean this, I'll be there. A kid have an accident, Lance is like, Monica, I cannot handle this. Okay, I will handle that. Any type of accidents, okay? Either.
Yeah, you did it all.
I did it all.
Monica, honestly, like you're such an amazing servant leader. You're a great example of that. I've been fortunate enough to experience that with you doing professional development at Le Monde sometimes, and even just through our friendship. Is there anything, though, that for the listeners, as we wrap this up, that you want to share with them of like the one thing that you think would be the most benefit from your experiences that they could take into their districts, their classrooms, or any place of work, even if it's not in education, just to help them remember about the importance of culture y también que sus historias cuentan, that their stories do matter.
It is true. I feel that what is important is that whatever you do, we do with passion. Whatever you do. And especially in education. I always tell every new teacher that wants to come to a charter school, they tell me, I come from the public and this and that. And I was like, you just need to be flexible.
Yeah.
You need to be flexible. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I say one day the pipes broke, or another day because that happened in Le Monde, or another day.
I laugh so hard because it's so true. It's like every day. It's like, can't we just do school without a pipe breaking? like or something happening?
Because the weather in Oklahoma is unpredictable.
Yes, also, yes.
So you need to remember that if you're in education or whatever you do with passion. You have to be flexible. You have to be creative. Mm-hmm. So that's my respects to you, Mike, for being a problem solver. But that's what we are in education, a problem solver. And then don't forget about connectedness. We need to connect our students with different people or resources. And the saying is with anybody that you encounter, like you said, we learn their stories, and then you're able to help. And then you are able to connect that person with somebody else, like you did with Dr. here Taylor with Edu Skills. You do the same with everybody else. And that's something that I live by. My mom always told me, help others, treat with respect, continue learning. Even in the most difficult year of COVID, I studied for life coach, and I finished my life coach classes because I was like, you know what? I want to do something else. I know I enjoy being in Le Monde. There was different challenge. COVID year was the year that taught me so many things professionally and personally. But at the same time, I didn't want to stop learning. And I think that's something that people need to know, that whatever area or field you are, you never stop learning, and you need to learn from others, and you need to correct your mistakes. And like in our case, in the past, Spanglish was wrong. Now Spanglish is right. And respect everybody's differences. Even in Oklahoma, there is differences. People just forget that. We are not equal. We are different. We have different lifestyles and different learning process.
Our number one rule in that very first amazing newcomer class was respect.
Yes.
That's the highest expectation. If we can just respect each other, everything else kind of falls into place, huh?
Yes.
Well, oh my gosh, I just thank you so much.
No,
thank you for ending this
so
with like la pasión. I know that you've been in my passion too. I thank you so much. I'm glad that you were here. And thanks for sharing everything with us today in Tu Historia.
We didn't allow Dr. Taylor to talk. I'm so sorry.
Well, this is for you. This is not for me.
Muchas gracias.
No,
muchas gracias.
I really believe that many of the listeners out there are going to learn a whole lot from you. And I know that I always have, and so I appreciate it so much.
My pleasure. And thank you for having me here. And I hope that anyone that is listening to my story, I hope that I either share something meaningful with them, I inspire them, or just, we maybe share the same difficulties. And sometimes, like I said, we don't give credit ourselves. And I think it's important, a pat in the back and say, we did it.
Well, muchas gracias.
No de nada.
A ti por todo. Thank you, Monica, for everything. Thank you also to our co-host, Dr. Taylor Tribble, and as always, to our amazing producer, Mr. Mike Overholt. Monica, gracias. Te quiero muchísimo y sinceramente, eres fenomenal.
Ay, muchas gracias.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adios.
Adios.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Adios.